Hello and welcome to Mississauga Life and Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Jaffrey, joined again with my main man, Alex Stakic. Alex, how you doing?
I'm very good. How are you, Sean? Thank you very much for inviting today for another amazing podcast.
Of course, not a problem. How was your New Year's Eve? Did you do anything exciting?
It was really good. I went to meet some friends and their same time past clients. It was really good time.
Well,
How about
nice.
you?
Yeah. We went out for breakfast during the day. In the afternoon, we went out to watch Puss in Boots in the movie theater with the kids. Probably one of the best New Year's Eves I've ever had. So yeah, it was all good for me.
Nice.
Can't complain.
Excellent. Perfect.
Great. So Alex, today
So what is our topic today, Sean,
Yes.
you would like to share with others?
Absolutely. So we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to be talking about the foreign buyer ban, which is a real hot topic these days. Everyone's talking about it. It's all over the news. We'll get into that. See exactly what it is and how we see it kind of affecting the market going down the road for 2023.
Yes.
We'll get into a little bit of forecasting of what to expect in terms of real estate prices this year. And then the last thing I want to touch upon, Alex, is I want to get into what the target rates are for BMO, CIBC, the major 5 banks, and what they're hoping to achieve by the end of the year. So let's talk about the foreign buyer ban. So the foreign buyer ban just took into effect January 1st, 2023. It was actually policy last year, sometime around June, July. Parliament passed it. It's in effect now. And everybody's talking about it, especially people who are looking to buy. They're kind of questioning whether this is going to have any sort of severe impact or a significant impact on the market. So first of all,
Yes, I agree.
let's just talk about what this ban is. It's a temporary ban, a 2-year ban on non-residents of Canada, right? So if you're not a Canadian citizen, then you can't buy property for 2 years in Canada.
Generally, yes, there are some exceptions. We can discuss about these exceptions as well.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. And this situation reminds me and brings me back to 2017 when he had same scenario like now in 2023.
Yeah, you're talking about the foreign buyer tax.
Yes.
Right.
Foreign buying tax, and now we have exclusion. But, based on information in 2017, only 2 or 2.5% of all real estate transactions was done by foreign investors. So let's see what will be with these 2 years ban.
Yep. So basically 2 years ban. I mean, I'm just going to read a little bit of the excerpt that I got from the government website. It talks about an individual. So a temporary resident is somebody who's an individual, who's a non-Canadian, and who purchases residential property in Canada with their spouse or common law partner, if the spouse or common law partner is a Canadian citizen. So that's fine. I mean, as long as, you are a citizen or your spouse or common law partner is a citizen, this does not apply to you. It applies to somebody who is in no way related to citizenship. Okay. Every non-Canadian that contravenes Section 4 and every person or entity that counsels, induces, or aids, or abets, or attempts to counsel, could be a lawyer, could be a real estate agent, could be a mortgage broker, who says to a non-resident, go ahead, purchase that property. That is an offense, and it is prohibited. And this person, if found guilty of this offense, will be liable conviction to a fine of not more than $10,000. So, follow the rules.
And also that by court order, they will have to sell that property.
Right. So, I mean, the fine is mentioned $10,000 for the person who is, the non-Canadian resident who's making that purchase, but it doesn't mention what kind of fine. But obviously, anybody involved in this transaction will also get penalized. Okay.
Absolutely.
If a non-Canadian is convicted of having contravened Section 4, the Superior Court of the province in which the residential property to which the contravene relates is situated may, on application of the minister, order the residential property to be sold in the prescribed manner and under prescribed conditions.
Yes.
Now I wonder how likely is it that, like it says, they may or they may not. It's up to the judge's discretion. We're gonna have to wait and see how hard that's going to be kind of like implemented, by the courts. Because I'm pretty sure there's gonna be people who are gonna kind of break the law and go ahead and purchase the property anyways. Let's see what happens with that.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're talking about exceptions, so who is accepted? Temporary residents studying in Canada, so they can buy. Temporary residents working in Canada, refugees, refugee claimants, accredited members of foreign missions in Canada, indigenous people and communities are also part of exclusion of this law. And of course, if you're buying recreation property, you still can buy as no Canadian resident that kind of property.
Correct.
Right?
So if you're purchasing a cottage, there's no limitations on that. You can buy it as a non-Canadian citizen. As a non-resident. You can also purchase multiple dwelling unit sort of building, like, so for example, a duplex or something. I believe it's with 4 units or more.
3 plus. 3 plus.
3
units
plus. Okay.
You can buy as a foreign or Canadian investor.
Right. So triplex or more apartment building, that's fine. You can still go ahead and purchase that. Now, you know what's interesting. So, okay, let's get that clear. So the 3 living units or more you can purchase, but you can't purchase a townhouse, a semi, a condo, detached. All those things are off limits. Okay. There's another stipulation here. Okay. So it says here the legislation applies to residential properties that are located in a census metropolitan area or a census agglomeration. Says CMHC. So a census metropolitan area that has a total population of at least 100,000 people, with at least 50,000 living in its core, while a census agglomeration has a core population of at least 10,000 people. So the regulation also applies to vacant land that does not have any livable dwellings, but is zoned for residential or mixed use. So there are certain exceptions. Again, I don't think it affects like the average Canadian resident, the average Canadian buyers. I think it falls more into, the leisure properties, lands, big commercial investments like condo buildings, things like that. And what else? So we've already talked about what happens to people if they don't comply. There's a fine, and then, you can be forced to sell that property, put it back on the market. Okay, great. Question that I have is, do you think this is going to have a significant effect on the real estate market, this 2-year ban?
I don't believe because you remember we were reading some numbers from banks and other data. It's mentioned that only 4.8% of investments are investments from foreigners, and 90% of these investments are condo apartments in Toronto, and 80% of condos in Vancouver as the 2 major foreign investment markets. So we are not talking about townhouses, we're not talking about detached houses, we're talking about the major part of investors, foreign investors, 80 to 90% of them, they're investing in core downtowns, condo markets.
Yes. So, right, less than 5% investing in mostly condos, not so much in detached or anything like that. It doesn't seem like it's going to have a significant effect on the real estate market as a whole.
I don't believe so.
When I think of a foreign buyer, Alex, I'm thinking like, okay, somebody living, somewhere other than Canada, maybe it's Hong Kong, maybe it's New Zealand, wherever. And he's thinking, hey, you know what? Canadian market is really good for investment. Let me go ahead and invest in a condo there. It's going to kind of stop that person it's going to deter that person from investing. But I did some research and I found that there's a lot that's going on that this law doesn't really kind of affect, right? So when we talk about foreign investment, I'm sure you've heard of Transparency International. It's an organization that does they try to expose corruption in different parts of the businesses in different parts of the world, whether it's banking, whether it's real estate. And according to them, that there is, the laws around investing in real estate as somebody who wants to stay anonymous, they're very laxed. They're very lax and people are able to do that. As a matter of fact, what do I have here? I have a little excerpt I'd like to read to you from the Transparency International report. Okay, so they say that Toronto, and by the way, all of the stuff that we're talking about, we're going to put the links in the description so you can, check this information out and analyze for yourself. So it says here that Toronto consistently ranks amongst the world's most livable cities, yet paradoxically, it is one of the least affordable. As of 2018, Toronto was the 10th most unaffordable housing market and had a 3rd worst housing bubble risk globally. Faced with a crisis situation, the provincial and federal governments have begun to intervene and measure. This is the tax we were talking about. In 2017, non-residential speculation tax and audits of known real estate speculators in the GTA. Yet, without accurate and available data on the true owners of property, these efforts will fall short. Finance Minister Bill Morneau, we all remember him, has said himself that a good policy is impossible without good data. And we could not agree more. As this report shows, a good AML stands for anti-money laundering, regime is also impossible without good data. With that in mind, we set out to shed some light on the extent of opaque ownership and financing in Canada's largest housing market. That data shows that billions of dollars in the GTA housing market has been acquired by anonymous owners using funds of unknown origin. Hiding behind companies, these owners make cash purchases or borrow from unregulated private lenders, avoiding scrutiny from financial institutions with anti-money laundering controls like the big 5 banks and reporting obligations. So the point that I'm trying to make here, Alex, is that we have a system in place where if somebody really wants to on a large scale get into real estate investment in Canada, they can still do that. I'll give you a really surprising stat. All the homes that are sold in Toronto, over 50% of them are owned by companies that nobody really knows who the true owners are. That's the situation today. This foreign buyer tax doesn't affect that, doesn't change that. So in my view, based on the information that's in front of me, I don't really think that this foreign buyer tax foreign buyer ban for 2 years is really going to affect the market that much. It's pretty insignificant in my view.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely.
Right.
Especially if you're talking about this low percentage, less than 5% in all transactions in 1 year. It's a really minor percentage to affect significantly prices. I think we need more supply, right?
We need more supply, and what has happened, the reason why we've seen the price adjustment we've seen is because of the thing we've always been talking about. Interest rates have been too low. And because interest rates have been too low, everybody's buying. And not only is everybody buying, people are buying multiple properties, And anecdotally, just by looking at the clients that I have, I can tell you that, there's quite a few people who have more than one home.
Yes.
One primary residence, two investment properties is a very common theme. So is it the foreign buyers? No, it's cheap money, and it's the access to all this real estate that people were able to get and build their portfolios, which was causing that shortage. And less homes on the market, means higher prices for everybody else.
Absolutely. And more respect is when you have in Toronto, you remember that we had problem with the renting the properties because we had so-called black window effect. Guys have 20, 30 condo properties in downtown. None of them are leased. Again, another legislation was implemented, but how effective it will be, we will see very soon, right?
Yeah, it's all eyewash. It's just all just to make everybody feel like the government's doing something, but realistically, they're not. From everything that I have looked into, all the research that I've done, I think when it comes to this sort of like, real estate investment by a shell company in countries like the Canada, the US, the UK, it wasn't until the Ukraine conflict that, the UK government started saying, hey, Russians, your money's no good. It's all black money. It's from the oligarch families, and it's coming from illegal resources to take out your money. Like prior to that, everybody was okay with that. So I think we kind of fall into that category where, Canada's a really good place to invest. As long as you kind of play by the unsaid rules, which is to create a shell company and you don't know who the owners are, and then you invest with all this cash, you're fine. The foreign buyer ban doesn't do anything for that. Okay, anyways, so I think we've kind of made our point very, very clearly at this point.
Yeah,
that it's not going to have a significant impact. But let's see. Let's wait for January, February numbers to come out. Right, March numbers to come out, and we'll visit this again, and we'll see like, hey, January 1st is when the buyer ban went into effect. What's happened to the prices? Because as far as we know, the last 3 to 4 months, the average price really hasn't moved much. It's kind of stayed the same. Absolutely. So if there's going to be an effect, we'll see for sure if there is something significant that's happening. Okay, you want to get into some forecasting? I got some numbers for you in terms of what different institutions are kind of forecasting for the real estate average prices. All right, so the biggest one here, the Canadian Real Estate Association, is forecasting that in 2023, average prices are going to be up 0.2%. What do you think?
With these mortgage rates, I don't believe so.
Well, this is a forecast, right? Nobody knows what's going to happen. Okay, Roy LePage, get ready for this one. 2023, they're predicting that the prices are going to be down 1% year over year.
No, I don't believe so.
I think that's very, very, I don't know.
Optimistic.
For that is very too optimistic. Okay. Remax says that the average price is going to be down 3% year over year in 2023. Very close to Roy LePage. Very optimistic. As a homeowner, somebody who owns real estate, you don't want it to be more than that. But again, like you just mentioned, if it's really connected to the real estate, really connected to the mortgage rates, and depending on where those rates are, the prices are going to follow. I mean, we've seen that.
Yes.
TD is making a prediction. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
I think I read an article that CHMC was predicting on their data that market with these mortgage rates will drop. If I am sure, I have to double check once again. The probably prices in 2023 will drop about 7 to 10% with this level.
As long as with the current level of mortgage rates, can the current level of mortgage rates still fluctuate? 100% they can. There's a possibility that they can. If they don't go up, which they're not likely to do, they will come down, and then the prices will be affected according to the rates. TD is forecasting with the current rates, they're expecting average prices to come down about 10%. RBC is at 8.5% for 2023, and Fitch Ratings, it's a rating agency which kind of rates like different sort of like investment vehicles in the US and in Canada. They're predicting in the US up to 5% reduction in price in 2023, and in Canada they're predicting -7 maximum. So those are the predictions. Now, again, predictions depending on the interest rates. There are target rates for different banks. I looked into the big five, and looking ahead to the end of 2023 into 2024, analysts are penciling in the first Bank of Canada rate cuts, which could take the overnight rate back down to 3% mark by the end of 2024. So we're looking 2 years down the road. We could be at 3%. Obviously, all of this is kind of linked to inflation and the international crisis and conflicts.
And our economy performance is the most important, because target is to be on 2% inflation.
Yes.
And I believe that I read that RBC is predicting that most probably our economy will go in recession in the first quarter of this year, and depends on economical parameters. Question is, will the Bank of Canada increase mortgage rates on 25th of January once again or not? But economical activity is the determining factor. What is the next step?
So the next rate hike announcement is the 25th of January.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Nobody knows it will be hike or not, but
yeah, it's an announcement.
Yes, announcement.
100%. So the Bank of Canada makes regular announcements very, very often, but we just don't know what it's going to be about. Most likely, from what I'm reading and hearing, it's not going to be a rate hike, but anything's possible. So the target rate for BMO for 2023 is 4.5. CIBC is 4.25. RBC is 4.25. Scotia is 4.25. TD is actually targeting at 3.75 for 2023. And all of these guys for 2024 are kind of targeting around 3%. TD is a bit more aggressive at 2.25%. So let's see. Those are the predictions. Again, so many moving parts.
But Sean, when we are talking about 4.25, just to make a clear statement for the audience, when banks expect to have mortgage rate 4.25 in 2023, beginning year, mid of year, end of year?
By the end of the year. This is by the end of the year.
Okay.
Yes, this is year end
so
for 2023. Yes,
absolutely understand.
And again, these are their targets. It's a moving target, right? Like it could change down the road. but that's what they're saying right now.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Understand. Okay, so I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to what we talked about right now, but we basically wanted to tackle this topic of home buyer ban. Again, I'd like to state my position. I think it's eyewash. I think it's theatrics. Nothing is going to change significantly. It's all really related to the number one, to the economy, and then to the interest rates. So let's see what happens. But I have a feeling, Alex, that when we look at the numbers back, once we're in March and we look at January, February, we're not going to see a significant impact on the price. That's what I think.
Yes, absolutely. And let's see how these investors who are not Canadians will work now and where they will place their money in real estate in Canada. Most probably because they have to have option to buy, these vacation properties. Maybe who is looking to maybe sell in 1 year from now, they should keep and hold these properties because maybe these investors will invest there. Or somebody who has multiple units, they should keep and hold these properties because these foreign investors will probably buy these properties because it will be allowed to do so. Nobody has perfect formula, but based on these bylaws, it seems to be very logical to me.
It's interesting because I was reading that from we mentioned Fitch ratings, and they were talking about how real estate values. It was in Brazil, Mexico, and there was another country, I believe it was Colombia, are expected to go up 7 to 10% this year. So their economy is a little bit doing a little bit different. So maybe they'll go over there, or there's always the option of starting a shell company and hiding your money. So you never know. There's many options for investors depending on the level of the level of money,
creativity,
and that influence you have. Exactly. So yeah, let's see what happens. So that's it for us. Again, we're going to try. I'm going to definitely put all the links for all of these articles that we talked about in the description. Any questions or concerns, reach out to me, reach out to Alex, and we'd be more than happy to oblige.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you for your time, and see you next week with another great topic.
Sounds good. Okay. Have a good day.